In Indonesia, on the island of Sulawesi, hides a mountain range named the Madagascar. It is so impenetrable that it has remained a mystery to this day, an unconquerable rock, one of the last unexplored places on Earth. Geologist and adventurer Evrard Wendenbaum is off to explore the Madagascar's unique biodiversity and rich archaeological history.
This massive, when viewed in satellite images, reveals absolutely no traces of modern life. There are no roads and no nearby villages. It's a completely unexploited piece of Earth.
Evrard Wendenbaum embarks with a dozen specialists to explore this exceptional spot, a refuge for rare and unusual species, where the only traces of ancient civilizations are these rock paintings. It's a fragile environment that needs protecting. The island of Sulawesi's main economic drivers are natural resources and palm oil. But today, overexploitation is threatening the island's precious ecosystems and unique biodiversity.
The goal of our endeavors is to find a way to protect these mini Edens before they disappear along with everything else.
In the center of Indonesia's crescent of islands lies Sulawesi, known for its four-legged shape. In the southeast is Madagascar. Its jagged limestone makes it a perfect stronghold for biodiversity. In Kendari, Sulawesi's capital, Evrard and his team prepare for their expedition. The massif is a day away by bus. The team of scientists is made up of Aurelian Bohr, a young, energetic, and enthusiastic botanist. Jean-Michel Bichon, a naturalist and the team's global coordinator. Luc-Henri Fage, a speleologist specialized in Indonesian archaeological ruins. And Tanguy Daufresne, an ecologist interested in the massif's endemic fauna. Plus, of course, Aurélie Calmet, an illustrator specialized in nature drawings and watercolors. According to the locals, the Madagascar shelters several unique species within its labyrinth of calcium rock and tropical forests. Among these rare species is the anoa, the world's smallest bovid, which we know almost nothing about and that no one has ever filmed in its natural habitat. The knowledge of the villagers, long familiar with the anoa, is vital to Tanguy and Jean-Michel. They'll have to search near water sources and mostly at night. But finding an anoa is not the only mission. A key challenge of this expedition will be figuring out how to actually cross the craggy massif made up of jagged cliffs. Not to mention the team is carrying 400 kilos of necessary equipment.
The only solution is to follow the water. which over the course of tens of thousands of years, or perhaps hundreds of thousands of years, slowly carved its own course through this mountain range. That's why we chose to take the river, which is really the only natural way to get across the massif. You okay?
It's dry season. The river's water level is low, and the current is gentle. But danger lurks in the form of jagged rocks just below the surface. After 2 hours on the river, the team runs into their first surprise.
Well, the river disappears. We don't know where it goes underground. So we're going to set up camp up there, 100 meters from the opening, and we're going to explore inside and try to figure out a way through. We have what we need to dive and to paddle our little boats. We also have ropes and the necessary gear to go caving. We have everything we need. But if there's no way through, we'll go up and find a path there that will bring us back down the other side.
Aurélie Calmet, the illustrator, is on her first major expedition. The first obstacle is obvious. The river dips into the rock's gaping mouth and disappears from sight.
Today, we're going to try to follow a different path, an unknown stretch that's not on the map. Oh, we have our images from Google Earth showing something green, a forest, but it's not very clear. The river's there, it's on the map, but then it disappears, only to reappear a few hundred meters away.
Great, we can get through.
Look,
It looks like a particularly dangerous species.
it's in striking position. Beautiful. I'd love to catch it, but I'm scared.
Don't.
The water level is low. It's looking like the team can proceed on foot. They'll need to find the best path for the relatively inexperienced rest of the team to get through without too much difficulty. Trees are blocking the way, evidence of how strong the current can get when it starts to rain.
There's lots of water and a steady flow. There's a sharp 90-degree turn ahead, and we don't know if we can get through. This particular section looks a little too hard. There's an enormous tree trunk that's stuck. I'm going to go over it to see what's ahead on the bend. The trunk is not stable. I don't want to fall in the water. I can't see back there. I'm sure we can get through.
200 meters further, continuing on dry land becomes impossible. The only solution is to get in the water and be carried by the current.
We don't have a choice. Use a rope just in case.
When we were swimming, I got a little scared at one point. The current was strong. I fell on my back and my leg got tangled in the rope and my tether. I got tied up, pulled by the current, so it got dicey for a couple of minutes. Well, it's hard to say. Maybe it was a minute, maybe less. I don't know, but it was quite scary. My head got sucked underwater. When I came up, I called Evrard.
I heard, I'm drowning, I'm drowning, help. I ran as best I could. I swam back against the current.
And with one last burst of energy, I managed to grab the edge of a rock, catch my breath, and swim. Well, to paddle all the way to the side of the wall and get out.
Despite the close call, Evrard and Jean-Michel make it across the massif.
We saw that the water will be okay for the boats. There aren't a ton of rapids, some small ones. But I really know taking the boats in there in the dark will freak everybody out. Okay, everybody ready? Time to tackle the river. Here you can see the trajectory of the Landu. So we'll have to go down this portion here over the next few days, and including a certain number of rapids. The idea is that every time there's a rapid, you'll hear it. It will be very loud, like a big murmuring right in front of us. That will be a little stressful, but you don't need to worry. Generally speaking, we always have enough time to anticipate. What's going to happen is that any time we get to such an area, I'll stop, I'll get out of the boat, then I'll go to see what lies ahead to decide if we can get across the rapids or if we have to go on foot. Yesterday, we saw we could get through, so this morning we're going to try it. There's a first rapid that's pretty rough, but after, it's pretty smooth sailing. Be sure to use your voice if you need to call something out. Only use the whistle if there's a big problem, okay? I've never seen anything like this. It's enormous. It's a gigantic stalactite. We made it out to the other side. And wow, it was awesome. It was a whole new world. It opened up to an entirely new area, almost another ecosystem. It felt like going from night to day. It was like paradise. It feels like the Garden of Eden. It's really crazy. It's a jungle full of animals, insects, and magnificent plants. But above all, there are all sorts of captivating noises and smells. It's a unique atmosphere. Once you're on the water and you let it propel you quietly, sometimes if you look closely, you'll see a reptile that looks prehistoric. It's known as a hydrosaurus, which is a pretty prehistoric name too. When they see you or hear you, they literally drop.
The team decides to take advantage of the currently calm conditions to dock the boats and explore the forest. Aurélien Boer, the young botanist, examines a tree with an extremely large bulb, the first of many wonders in this isolated forest.
Wow, look at that.
Do you see that? It's an ant plant, but this is an extraordinarily large specimen. I've read about plants with bulbs as large as human heads. This is clearly much, much bigger than that.
So what's special about it? Are you talking about that large bulb?
Yes,
But we're on another tree. This isn't the same plant, right?
correct. The tree we're on is called a Melastomataceae. It's a pretty common tree in tropical forests, and this plant's growing on top of it. You can see its roots winding around. They're directly attached to the trunk. It creates a large floating bulb with its roots seemingly unattached.
But aren't tubers usually in the ground?
Yes, but this one's different.
It's in the air.
Yes, it's an epiphytic plant. AP meaning around, because it grows around the tree. It gets sustenance from the air, but primarily from the ants that feed it. See all those ants walking around inside? They're out here and they live inside.
There's tunnels everywhere.
Yes, the inside is full of tunnels and the ants live inside them. What's interesting is that the plant made those tunnels.
The ants don't dig them?
No, they didn't dig them, they just live in there.
I see.
The ants are attracted to this beautiful tree, which makes a great nest. And the plant benefits from the waste like ant carcasses and leftover food, which all accumulates inside. You can see there are lots of little roots running up and down the tunnels. Those roots gather all the energy, all the nitrates left behind by the ants.
We are looking at a specimen of a known species that goes beyond anything ever documented. This is up-to-the-minute scientific research, and that we're gathering what was previously only local knowledge and which was never transmitted academically. The problem is that the people who live around the Massif don't know or no longer know all these things that their ancestors did. We're bringing our own knowledge as scientists, which allows us to recognize that there's something special going on here. The biodiversity of this place is exceptional, and that's exactly what we need to protect. The banks of the river are these huge, chaotic, sifting and aggressive blocks. They're all needles. Those spikes you see here. That's all there is, everywhere. If there's a rock in the way that looks too sharp or too dangerous, we should stop and go around on foot. Maneuvering over these rocks, you're going to get cuts on your hands and feet. Same with your knees and shins, your clothes, your backpacks. It's like a natural blade that's 60 kilometers long and 20 kilometers wide, and it's incredibly dangerous.
Evrard and his team progress slowly, surrounded by unexpected challenges. They're on high alert in this hostile environment. Evrard keeps his ears open to anticipate the river's dangers.
It's pretty stressful and nerve-wracking, but that's also what makes an expedition like this so exciting. You never know what lurks around the next corner, or what secrets are behind the next bend. My only fear is that we may not be able to get around some of these rapids.
The rapids are a tedious obstacle and cause the inflatable boats to capsize frequently. Setting up camp is necessary to dry everything out. There's one of the animals I was hoping to see on this expedition.
Me too. The cuscus.
The taroubert of Sulawesi.
Yeah, it's a marsupial.
Yeah.
You can see it's a cross between Australian fauna and Asian fauna. There are two species of cuscus here. These marsupials are a distant cousin of the kangaroo.
Does it only exist here?
Yes, it only exists here. You wouldn't find it anywhere else. The other local cuscus is also specific to the area. There are other cuscus species in the world, but in Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea.
Yes, mostly there. This animal is being threatened by the destruction of its habitat. You can see it's an animal that strives in forests that are mostly intact. It's also hunted for its meat and because people like to keep them as pets. People come catch them in trees so they can sell them.
It looks better in a tree.
Yeah, I agree.
Tanguy lays camera traps, hoping to capture images of the anoa, that small horned mammal that has yet to be filmed in the wild.
Yeah, that should work.
These camera traps can take footage of all sorts of species, both day and night. Tanguy will return in a few days to collect them. The island of Sulawesi is famous for its exceptional rock paintings. The neighboring Maros Massif contains the oldest known human rock paintings, dating back to more than 40,000 years. Could the Matarombeo also contain similar hidden treasures? On the 10th day of the expedition, Evrard and Luc-Henri Fage set out to explore a cave.
Wow, there's pottery everywhere.
So thin. Look.
What's that over there? Oh, it's an urn. That looks intact.
Careful. It's fine.
Yeah,
Just a little climb.
yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Let me attach the rope. You are the Captain Haddock of archaeology.
Good Lord. They're similar to those in North Borneo.
I don't see any ornaments.
You've got to be an acrobat to get a funeral urn up here.
Yeah.
And there were at least 3 of them.
The body was already a skeleton when it went inside, right?
Yeah,
So it's like in Madagascar,
exactly.
where they turn around over the bodies.
They waited for the body to decompose, then they ground up the bones for a ceremony and put that in the urn with the other objects. This could have been an offering cup used during the funerals. It's beautiful. Wow, this is cool. Another urn.
Is this part of a coffin? This big piece of wood?
That's part of a coffin, yes. They put in wooden slats and structures and then put the jars on top to keep their round base from rolling. Then over time, the wood must have rotted and collapsed. Either that or pillagers came looking to steal something and smashed everything.
Anoa tracks.
The anoa is our holy grail. It's a small bovine, the smallest bovine in its family, which is endemic to the island of Sulawesi. We have very little documentation about its biology and its ecology, because it's a fearful animal of the forest. To this day, we know extremely little about it. To give you an example, in over 8,000 hours of photo capture, we've only managed to document a single individual. Our objective is to remedy that.
To put all the odds in their favor, in addition to Tanguy's camera traps, Jean-Michel builds a blind so they can be as discreet as possible overnight. It's a great opportunity for Aurélie, the illustrator, to join the scientist and fully take in the environment for her drawings.
Water sources are usually where a lot of animals gather, especially larger mammals, during the end of the dry season. So our strategy is to set up our cameras, our camera traps, in an area the animals have to pass by in order to get to the water.
I've been here for 6 months, and I have to say, it's really nice here. There's a great little river, and I've made some new friends. Okay, back to work.
Aurélie stayed up all night, but didn't see an anoa. So far, the creature is living up to its reputation. But further ahead, Tanguy and Jean-Michel have returned to the camera traps to retrieve their memory cards. Their content has a few surprises in store.
We looked at the images from 2 of the cameras.
And?
It's awesome. There's some hilarious footage of monkeys.
Really?
There's a group of what, 15?
20.
About 20 monkeys, the small ones in front, the adults behind, They jump from trunk to trunk. Then a few solitary monkeys go by. So there's the group, then a few loners. One of them is just hanging out. Let's see what we got. There.
Wait, yes, it's a babirusa.
Oh, yeah.
In daylight.
The video is exceptional.
Great video.
Good stuff.
An Anoa walked by the camera the very first night.
He smelled us. He could smell that we'd been there.
Definitely.
He seems very cautious.
Awesome. I told you. First night.
Yes.
Tanguy and Jean-Michel now have proof that although rare, Anoas are still present in the area. It's a good start. Now they need to go deeper into the massif for additional observation. Evrard is a geologist by trade. He loves studying rocks to learn history, both in terms of geology and archaeology. He tries to examine every wall, adventuring off alone into any hint of a cave, before risking the well-being of the rest of the team.
When I enter a cave, I primarily have two goals. One is to go as deep as possible, and the other, once I'm inside, is to find a way out somewhere else than where I came in. To me, that's the ultimate thrill, going in on one side and coming out the other. There are other goals too, like trying to find an underground stream. There's a hole back there. I'm going to try not to fall in. Wow, it's beautiful in here. Think about it like a piece of Swiss cheese, a huge piece of Swiss cheese. This limestone block was slightly raised and was completely dissolved by tropical water, by tropical rains. Water drops can penetrate the rock from every possible angle. It's very fragile.
This limestone and its plethora of exciting caves first took shape beneath the ocean before it was lifted above it thousands of years ago.
There's a small stream of water here.
Evrard manages to find an exit some 400 meters away, but no cave paintings. It's time to pack up camp and get back on the Lindu River.
We're going under hundreds of feet of rock. It's a remarkable natural bridge. The water didn't always pass this way. It used to make a huge detour around. There's almost a full kilometer of the water's trajectory that the river suddenly decided to divert via a fault. You can see little rays of sunshine coming through it. There are many segments where you can just relax and let the water take you. You're floating downstream, having a good time together. Whenever we want, we stop to examine or explore a rock shelter or some archaeological remains or a cave we think might offer a way underground to pass through.
The walls here are very interesting.
How so?
They're covered in clay that's decomposing. Wow, an animal and boats. In a cave this humid, it's almost a miracle that these paintings are still here. This is proof that a human being was inside this cave. They painted this and left a message for us to find.
There's a creature there.
What kind of creature is that?
A hydrosaurus and its crest.
Yeah, yes. This is very moving. It's very beautiful. There's a group of anthropomorphic beings, people that are all depicted from the front. Apparently, it's a composition, meaning all these drawings together tell a story. This could very well be the creation story of the Talaki people. They were indigenous here prior to the arrival of Austronesians. This may be an initiation ritual designed to teach the clan's history to young children, who then drew it in this cave. It was probably drawn during a shamanic ceremony, because this animal represents the sea and could be a giant centipede. It seems to show writhing movements, which really reminds me of typically shamanic drawing elements. And here you have an animal, or a beast-like creature. The big chief is this one with the 38 feathers and the horns. This looks like it depicts anthropomorphic and zoomorphic motives. One of the hallmarks of shamanism is to transform into an animal. So what we could be seeing here is someone who was undergoing an initiation, a sort of cosmic journey, and who transformed into a cervid. There's definitely a story, that much is obvious, and these paintings could be... Well, we know they're Austronesian, so they're no more than 5,000 years old, but they could be 2,000 to 3,500 years old.
It's really rough over here.
Three made it through, 2 flipped over. I'll try to do better.
Back up, back up. Come on, keep going. Every time we go over a rapid like that, we have to stop right after to empty our boats, because they fill up with water almost immediately and get super heavy. like a bathtub full of water. But it's fun, you know. We're having a blast. It's fun, but it's also an element of danger, because we're at the ends of the earth, in the middle of nowhere, and it's impossible to get rescued here. So, yeah. A couple of untimely dips.
This one got harpooned twice. Bam! These are shrimp, right? Not crayfish.
Yes, there's shrimp.
"12 days into the expedition, the team has accumulated plenty of data and drawings. But there are still surprises. And not all of them feel good.
Damn it! The NOAA was just here. It came this way. We found these sort of bassines that are permanently filled with water, even now at the end of the dry season. That's a major lifeline for the NOAAs. If there are other such basins deeper in the mountain, that means certain animals can totally strive.
The ANOA is still an important objective for Tanguy and Jean-Michel. The more proof they have of its presence, the better their chances of getting the Madagascar Massif declared a sanctuary. As for Evrard, he's still on the hunt for hidden cave treasures. He secretly harbors the hope of finding another cave with evidence of mankind. Proof that human societies lived inside the Madagascar in harmony with its steep, challenging landscape.
Old habits die hard.
Oh, that's great. It's beautiful. There's a draft. Oh, that's great. It's beautiful. There's a draft. I know someone who'll be very happy.
See those shapes? Those are from liquid flooding. This cave used to be full of water.
Yeah.
There was simultaneous erosion and calcite deposit. That these paintings survived is a miracle. A layer of calcite preserved them.
Isn't that exactly what you were looking for? Since the beginning?
Sure, it's a human sign. What better proof of humanity than a trace of your own hand? It's incredibly moving. They're negative hands. The person's hand was placed against the wall, and then the paint was pulverized over it.
So they must have used some sort of powder.
It could have been powder, dissolved in water, that they put into their mouths and then sprayed out in a mist if they were good at it, unless they used a tube.
Like a straw.
Exactly, that's how they left the negative handprint. They gravitated to caves because they sensed special spirits here, conjured up by the shapes and the compressions of the walls. This was obviously a sacred place.
Yeah.
From here you can see the valley in the distance and the river. It's a little like a monastery built in a special place where you feel in communion with the spirits. Back then, these people wanted to live in harmony with the spirits that they felt present in the rocks, the trees, the wind, the rain. Everything was alive.
Everything had a spirit. Luke, here's something cool. We made the right choice. Look,
Oh, the vases.
and little statues.
I see urns. That one's magnificent.
They're everywhere. Look.
The Dayak in Borneo had pierced ears, and these guys too. That's gorgeous. They must have buried men here for decades, if not centuries. This is a sepulchral cave.
That's a lot of people.
It's well located because no animals can get in here, except maybe monkeys.
Maybe some birds. I don't know.
All of this revolves around a purpose. If you bring people into a cave, it's because their spirits travel with their bones.
Yeah,
Their ceremonies must have been very loud,
yeah.
so that the spirits would follow and stay in the cave.
Between the negative hands and the funeral sites, the Matarombeo turns out to be an amazing source of culture. Everything is carefully put back into place so that the Indonesian scientists can carefully analyze and date these incredible remnants. After 18 days of exploring along the Lindu River, the journey is coming to an end.
Look here, I got a few cool things. There were a lot of babyrusas, you know, those little boars.
Yeah,
That's a female. She's just rolling around.
with her babies,
Yeah, she's digging a hole. Looks like she's digging.
with her gluteal muscles to try and get to deeper water.
Yeah, she's struggling. Look, now I'm going to show you some footage of the Noahs.
Okay, you got some.
Yeah. This, for example. They're always very fearful. You see? They're always on their toes.
At the beginning of the expedition, we talked about this animal as if it was a small cow. But when you look at this, it's really not that small.
You guys made fun of me.
We did, I confess.
As you can see, it's different.
Yeah,
Given the environment they live in, you could say this creature is extremely well adapted to its environment.
yeah.
The horns go straight back, which allows them to easily pass through the underbrush. And you'll also see here, when they walk, they sort of coil their hooves
Yes.
to avoid the creepers. You know, the ones we tripped over all the time.
Oh, yeah. And the rocks, too.
Yeah,
The terrain is very uneven, obviously.
look at this. It's one of the few we got during the day. All the others were at night.
I see two babies here.
Yeah. That one is probably around a year or two. And the other one, it's a newborn. You see how the mom has a beautiful black coat?
Yeah.
The young one is red-colored, and the newborn is brown, maybe very dark red. All this footage, and we have quite a lot of it, was captured over an amount of time when we could see them move, we could see them being very careful, etc. It's something we can study after the fact. Based on the footage, we'll be able to recap the behavior of these animals.
Yeah.
This is very valuable footage. We need to go through it. We really see the animal in its natural environment. We see how gracefully they move, which gives us a whole new dimension to the argument of trying to protect this species.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting result, considering this animal is of local interest. Maybe we can use it to create a conservation campaign in the future where we treat them as an umbrella species, which means that protecting this species will help protect the other species here too.
The first trip to the Madagascar certainly won't be the last, because this Garden of Eden is rich with wonders. But on a scientific level, everything remains to be done. There's no doubt that this bastion of biodiversity deserves to be protected. Such is the ultimate goal of Evrard's organization, Nature Evolution. Yet the outcome will depend on the Indonesian people themselves.
On our planet, unexplored worlds have become rare, but some impenetrable islands still exist that we call lost worlds. Evrard Wendenbaum, geologist and adventurer, made a promise to himself to explore them all in order to better protect them. In Madagascar, he singled out the Makay Massif.
The Makay, seen from the sky, appears to be a type of desert, which gives the impression of a mineral labyrinth. It's important to appreciate that if you enter these valleys, you won't know if you'll get out the other side, or even make progress.
For more than 10 years, Evrard has ventured into this labyrinth of canyons to bring back proof of its extraordinary biodiversity.
And we're off.
This year, he's organizing a scientific expedition to index the flora and fauna that's endemic to the massif, in order to preserve this unique place that's threatened by man. All around the massif, bushfires are regularly started to cultivate the land. These uncontrolled fires penetrate the massif and destroy its ecosystem. Through his actions, Evrard is trying to educate the local population on the preservation of the Makay. The results of this expedition should enable the massif to be classified as a protected area by the Madagascan state. In order to do that, it will be necessary to outsmart the mineral labyrinth traps to reach an unexplored valley, the most inaccessible. The Makay is situated slightly to the southwest of Madagascar, and it covers a large territory, half the size of Corsica. This geological creation isn't easy to penetrate, and you need to be autonomous to engage in an exploration which will last 6 weeks. The expedition is on a very big scale, and it involves the cooperation of the Malagasy villagers, who are themselves interested in the Makay preservation program. In fact, these men and women ensure the logistics and survival of the 50 or so researchers and eco-volunteers.
I had no particular qualification to protect these places, to say that this massif deserved to be protected more than another one. So I called scientists to try to make an inventory of everything that could be in the massif, and to try and find out if there really was a unique biodiversity.
Where's the baby?
There.
Oh, the little shoot.
There, yes. Look at the baby there.
Oh, yes, great.
In fact, there are 2 of them there. Platycerium. That's a pretty name, isn't it?
We have archaeologists, ornithologists, herpetologists, entomologists, botanists, etc., who have come to define the state of health of these forests.
Is that the cyclopoida? And the other one, the harpactoid, is it different in the other tube?
Yes. Can you give me a bit of light?
Once they make their first foray into the Makay, around the camp they take the opportunity to take stock of the material that will have to be carried. Around the Menapenda River, which served as an entry point, the flora and fauna already appear to be specific.
Excellent. It's really beautiful. Is that the one you caught this morning?
Yes, it's a little African pygmy kingfisher.
Okay.
It's funny, if you put the kingfishers on their back, they don't move, so it's very practical.
All birds or just these?
Just the kingfishers.
That's crazy.
He's not happy.
Oh, that's great.
Half an ounce.
Half an ounce? What's he doing, playing dead?
Yes, a bit.
It's been 2 weeks since the mission stopped at the advanced camp in the Makay. There will still be 2 or 3 camps to set up before they can penetrate the deeps of the massif. This first camp allows the researchers to acclimatise and especially to refine their study protocols, which they will have to deploy on this new tropical terrain. The scientific programme recruits a few French specialists, but mainly young graduate Malagasi's.
There are 3 of them just on the trees there.
Oh, he's posing. Is he aware you're taking a photo?
Evrard provides them with logistics and support so they can reach the most remote places. He does everything to help them find the specimens, to classify them, and to illustrate them for their scientific publication.
Wow, he's jumping. Fantastic. Okay?
Yes.
There, look. We're starting to see them from here. The first baobab. We can see it here. Well, I don't know if it's a baobab, but there's a second one behind, hidden behind the pandanus. There might be a small one just alongside it. Can you see it? It has a sort of twisted trunk. But it's difficult to say if it's a baobab. It looks like it from here. In any case, if it is a baobab, it's the first one. These are the first baobabs that we've seen in the Makay. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's the first time I've climbed a baobab. It's fantastic. It's amazing. And there's an incredible view. Excellent.
There are 9 known species of baobab in the world, 1 in Australia and the rest in Africa or Madagascar. But until now, no baobab had been registered in the Makay. For the Malagasy botanist, it's already very good news.
Clearly, there are several trees in Madagascar which have trunks a bit like this.
Yes, it could be Hildegardia or Dolonix. But here, we've stumbled upon a baobab.
Yes, this is a beautiful baobab.
It's a great discovery.
So is it an old or young one?
According to the diameter and height, considering that the baobabs have a very, very long growth, I think that this is a very, very, very old one.
It's very old.
Yes.
Good, it would be great to install a hammock, wouldn't it? I believe that baobabs don't have exactly the same structure as the others, is that right? They're not like normal trees.
No. Considering that, to start with, they're full of water, it gives them a look that's not very smooth, but a little...
Lumpy like that?
Yes. And apart from that, it's going to be a bit hollower inside. So people aren't going to use it. And it doesn't do much.
It's not good wood. You can't really do anything with it.
No, that's what keeps it alive. Because if it was a wood that people use, I don't think it would still exist in Madagascar.
They would all be gone, that's for sure. What is surprising is that there are a lot of species that can survive, well, which live in these canyons here, like the canarium, for example, or beautiful trees like this one. And go figure, there are 4 individual ones placed right on a very small hill clinging to the cliff. To the point where it's so much on the headland that on one side there's about a 30-foot drop, and on the other side it's 330 or so feet leading straight down to the river. It's really crazy that they got to hang on to this tiny pocket of land.
And at the end of the cliff, hanging on to a cliff.
First, we'll go into the murmuring forest above. You know, the small buccaneer shelter forest? And afterwards, on our way back, instead of going down the Manapanda, we'll go down the Makay.
Everyone is finally reunited, so it's the big departure. The second camp is estimated to be a bit more than 2 days away on foot, following the river. 60 people will have to live autonomously for another 4 weeks. Evrard has never taken a team so deep into the Makay.
Despite all our efforts and all our research, there are still some pockets of the forest that have never been studied, never explored. That's the goal of this 2017 mission. It allows me to bring scientists to a place where initially, the first time I set foot here, I could never have brought them. Because you can't read the massif like that. It's too difficult. You need to come here once or twice or even 4 times, and then you discover that there are tiny, tiny paths. That takes time. Oh, wow!
Even during the approach walks, you have to be attentive. The discoveries slow down the progress, but these encounters, however small, can prove to be unique.
What's that?
It's a kind of mantella. So there's a chance that it's a hybrid between 2 species. A Betsilio that we already know to be here, and a Koani, which is a species that's never been seen before in the Makay.
So wait, how do you know it could be a hybrid? Because it has colors from both species.
Exactly, that's it. They're the same shape, but the red brick back, the flanks which are black like that with stripes, that's really representative of the Mantella betsilio, one of the species that has already been found in the Makay. And the stomach, there you can see the whitish blue spots, that's representative of the Koani.
So where's the Koani supposed to be located?
More to the east, and that encompasses a bit of the southern part of the Makay. So it's for that reason that we were hoping to see one before leaving. That was one of the top priorities of our exploration. So this is great.
One of your objectives was to find this?
Yes, at least one species of mantella, a type of mantella.
Betsilio or Koani?
That's right, and perhaps this one is a cross between the 2 species.
Can we put it on its back afterwards?
We can, yes. I'll have to hold it.
Look. We're just arriving at the trunks I spoke to you about the other day.
Oh, yes.
Look, it arrives here and crosses to the other side. The canyon passed through and cut the trunk. It's all black, it looks like coal. And on the face of it, it's not coal, it's just a trunk which burnt before it was buried and petrified. In fact, when you look at these little lines of pebbles, here, we can see it really clearly. We're in a sediment zone. There are astronomical quantities of grains of sand, then pebbles, then grains of sand, then pebbles, then gravel and whatnot, which have settled here for millions of years. Depending on the climate, depending on the speed of water which brings this waste, this detritus from the mountain range, you're going to have either pebbles because there is water which carries along the big pebbles, or very fine grains of sand which are there because there's not enough current to take the big pebbles all the way here. And then, at any given moment, you're going to have a major event. I can't tell you what, but it's going to be, I don't know, an enormous cyclone or a gigantic fire which burns huge swathes of forest, and these forests end up being carried away in the water. And therefore, all these trunks you've seen have several levels. They were all deposited like that at the bottom, and they are covered in sand. That protects it from the oxygen so it doesn't rot. It remains exactly as it is in the sand for tens of thousands of years. And then afterwards, it needs time. Imagine that inside this massif, there is water permanently running, which dissolves the silica, because that is nearly 100% silica. And this silica is going to arrive at the trunk and transform, bit by bit, the carbon atom which is inside this trunk into a silica atom. And in fact, that's how wood becomes petrified and transforms into rock.
It mineralizes vegetable matter.
Exactly. It takes a few thousand years. Here we can see clearly that it's burnt. It's kept exactly the same form. That's what's astonishing about fossilized wood. It must be, give or take, 150 million years old. It's an old man. Come on, let's continue. Each time I tell myself, I've already seen everything, I'm going to get bored. But in fact, each time I return, I tell myself, this was the best trip ever. So it continues for me to be a fantastic playground, a land of fantastic adventure. There isn't one bend, one meander of a canyon which resembles the one before. There isn't one little patch of green, one little patch of forest which resembles the one it's next to. I'm having as much fun as the first time, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure I know where we are. We're here, and if we climb up the crests, yes, we can still climb. We're going to go up to the left and go to this plateau. It's good, Phil. I know where we actually are.
It's not easy to find yourself in this labyrinth of canyons where no map has been drawn. Evrard strays from the path with a small experienced group to reach higher grounds. They leave the humidity at the bottom of the canyons for a drier vegetation just at the summit of a peak that he has located on Google Earth. The Makay Mountains peak at more than 3,280 feet, and its rock is very crumbly. Its geological formation is Evrard's domain. He is keen to do this little detour by the crests, which is also ideal terrain for the birds of prey specialists.
Here, we can clearly see the layers which are superimposed, and suddenly it explains how all that was created dozens of millions of years ago underwater. We call those massifs detrital massifs because they are, in fact, made of detritus from another range of mountains, which has been eroded over some dozens of millions of years. And the produce of the erosion has been deposited in a gigantic sedimentary basin, and that has created beds of sand and conglomerate, several miles thick. And as it's originated from water, it's ended up being eroded again. And since it's made of grains of sand, it erodes very quickly, a little bit like a sandcastle, and that leaves breathtaking hills. It looks like a giant brain. There are hundreds, thousands even, of small canyons which cross and intersect, and that leaves a natural and unique labyrinth.
Listen, you can hear the sunbird.
Ah, yes. Incredibly beautiful. You've really captured it.
Yes, it really is a magnificent bird. Frankly, really superb. It's a new species to the Makay, Accipiter hensti, hence goshawk. It has eyebrows that are very distinct, the brow bone too, and it has fine stripes just under the throat.
And is it a pretty rare animal too? And does it exist somewhere other than Madagascar? Are they everywhere in Africa, or is this an endemic animal here?
Endemic. Endemic to Madagascar. So if you like, we can even hear the warning call of the female. So that's the call she makes when you approach her nest. Well, I've annoyed her a little by photographing her. We needed proof of the presence of this species. So here we have the soundtrack, we have the photos. We're all good to say, here you go, this species is present in the Makay. Another good piece of data for the Makay.
Great, that's a good one.
With this new discovery, the Makay has become the most populated area of diurnal birds of prey in Madagascar. It's a veritable refuge for these animals threatened with extinction. At altitude, the environment is more pleasant for humans, even if it's drier. In any case, Evrard has discovered traces of ancient human presence.
You see, they came to grind something here. Cereals, I don't know what. I don't know what they had at the time, but it's proof of human presence, and that must mean that there must be more. It's for that reason that it was worth bringing the archaeologists. Right, and then tomorrow I need to find water, because there isn't any here. We're not going to last long with the small amount of water that we have in the can. In fact, this morning when we awoke, there was a certain lethargy. Actually, it wasn't lethargy, just simply the fact that we had no water. So, on waking, I went to look for a source.
Finding water in these conditions firstly consists of locating the luscious vegetation at the bottom of the gorges. Evrard comes across a riverbed, unfortunately dry, so he walks along it hoping to find the source.
It's running, but not enough. Ah, there is a little pool. Good, but not enough water there for me. Oh, yes, paintings. That's good. I know someone who's going to be very happy. Antoine for Evrard. Antoine for Evrard. Antoine for Evrard. Antoine for Evrard.
Yes, Evrard, I can hear you. What's going on?
Are you still at the camp?
Yes, I'm still at the camp. I'm writing up a couple of things.
I think you need to prepare a bag, because I think there's something that's going to interest you. I was looking for water. I didn't find any, but I've just come across some paintings. I can see some ceramics down here. I think it's really worth you coming here.
Okay, where exactly?
I'm just at the bottom of the pyramid opposite the camp. Can you see the big mountain at the other side of the forest? There was a dihedron right in front of the summit, and then a big pinkish cliff at the bottom on the left. I'm at the foot of the big pink cliff. There's a little grotto. I'm waiting for you there. Up here, just above you. Hi.
Hey. Wow. They're everywhere.
Yeah. As you can see, there are symbols, triangles, circles.
Colors have been used too.
And then you see, without doubt, they came here because there was water. That's what I was looking for. So I came by foot from the cliff, thinking that perhaps there was a little resurgence. Unfortunately, there is a tiny drip, but that's not going to help us much.
In any case, the paintings are going to help us.
Yes, that's great.
Fantastic.
Here we are in a playground, archaeologically in any case, which is so interesting. And what we have to imagine is that some dozens or hundreds or perhaps even thousands of years ago, possibly, people used to come here. And the question is, why did they come here? What were they doing here? Because it's a cul-de-sac. They can't get to another place in the Makay. So it's really a place where they had to find a reason to come, either to hide maybe, or because there was something interesting to look for in this forest. Maybe medicinal plants. In any case, on the platform where we're sleeping, there are 2 mortars. There is a shelter under the rock with paintings. There are ceramics up there. It could be that there are other ceramics and other paintings not far. Lots of things happened. People didn't just pass through, otherwise there wouldn't be a mortar. The mortar is really proof that they settled for a certain amount of time and that they cooked. They did things here. But what? Why?
Near the archaeological sites, Evrard finds a bit of water, which gives the necessary energy to get the whole group going again. They start to descend towards the rest of the team, who have to follow a less steep hill. The objective is still in sight. They are still heading for the center of the massif to seek the best route to the lost valley of the Makay. The intermediary bivouac is ideal and offers different ecosystems for all the studies. There won't be a shortage of water, the temperature is mild, and there are no mosquitoes. Scientists and artists share the beach, some more efficient and more inspired than others.
Globally, we have captured on our cameras nearly all types of animals.
How many cameras did you have in total?
We had 9 cameras for the 3 weeks.
Okay.
When I say all types of animals, I'm talking about lemurs. That is the female, and that's the male. I also have some bush pigs.
Yes?
And finally, we have our target, the fusa, the carnivore. It's like the merging of a big puma with the head of a dog, meaning that it can climb trees to catch lemurs. It's the biggest carnivore endemic to Madagascar.
The scientists require several days of exploration around the bivouac. Each one chooses their terrain relative to their discipline, with a secret hope of finding a rare pearl.
Here we're in the process of installing a cord system in a tree to try to construct a platform for Jeremy, who is the team photographer, especially to try to capture the birds flying by. But not only them, also the lemurs, who will be on the canopy.
Elegantly does it.
It's important work for us because that gives us an indication at 0 hour of the quantity, let's say, of the lemurs and of the balance of each group. And if we reproduce this each year, we'll be able to see if the groups increase, diminish, if there are more groups, less groups, and we'll be able to specify if the forest is more and more adapted to them, or if it suffers damage that directly impacts them, or even if they are subject to poaching.
All the lemur species are endemic to Madagascar. When the first humans arrived on the island 2,000 years ago, they noticed some lemurs were as tall as them. For the Malagasy, the lemurs embody the spirit of the forest, hence the name, which means ghost.
We have one. I'm going to catch it for you.
Goodness, what is this thing?
That's a fly from the Diopsidae family. Their particularity is to have their eyes on the end of 2 long peduncles, like that, hammerhead shark style.
What's that for? It must be useful for something to have your eyes on the end of an antenna like that.
Their function isn't really known. We think that it plays a role in choosing a mate. The males have a bit of a fight to be the one with the biggest peduncles. The females will choose the winner of the fight.
It's a seduction trick.
Yes, a bit like with peacocks and deers with their antlers.
Do you find this creature a lot here?
We found 2 or 3 species here. It's a species we see mainly below the equator or in tropical countries. There's only 1 species in Europe, but the eyes aren't separated like this one.
Evrard is constantly investigating and locating new terrain for the specialists to study. While scouting, he's also searching for a new route to take the team and to get everyone on the move. They still need to go further, towards the most hidden valley in the Makay. But there are often dead ends. It's out of the question to send the porters and the hundreds of pounds of equipment for hours without being sure that they won't have to turn around.
Here we have a little underwater passage. It's a very small passage. There is an 8-foot tall rock, but to climb it would be a really tiring endeavor, so we're going to pass underneath. It's just over 3 feet, a little siphon, where we need to dive, and behind, you'll arrive in a gallery which is this size, and you're going to exit it, then you'll need to move like this in the water. The water will be up to your head. You might not be able to touch the bottom. And for the bags, we're going to pass them over the rock, and then those who arrive first at the bottom, they will come back from below to go and help with shuttling the bags back and forth. Staying several weeks in a forest like this ends up being very tiring. It's tiring mentally, it's tiring physically, and therefore when we walk through these canyons, it can be a little scary. And we are still obliged to take them up there because otherwise they will miss out on their subject of study. Everyone okay? Everyone still alive? So far so good. There's still one passage. Let's just say that there's water. This puts them in a vulnerable state, if I may say so, but also in a proud state for having succeeded to cross this passage, to have succeeded in doing something that they would never have planned to do initially. But that's what's great in these adventures. It's not just science, not just an easy walk. It's also putting into question their own physical and psychological capabilities, and that's what's rather nice.
Look, Evrard.
What have we found here? Oh, good God, a crab.
I just took it from here.
Do you know that's the first one? The first crab that we found here in the Makay. I've never seen one before. Are there a lot of crabs in fresh water in Madagascar?
From what I know, there aren't really a lot of species of crab in freshwater. I think there are 6 types, 17 species from memory that are left.
That's nothing.
So that's not much. The latest distribution maps show data mainly from the northern and eastern parts of the country, and here we're in the southwest.
Completely the opposite direction.
These are species, in any case, crabs, which evolve in a relatively small territory. So if they're here, there's perhaps a chance for new species.
That would be brilliant. And to find that here, frankly, that's unexpected.
That would be a scoop, a new species of crab. Not the prettiest one, but a first for the Makay, having adapted to its isolation in the middle of this impenetrable labyrinth.
Just step on my shoulder, go ahead, okay? Until this point, we all knew that there was no room for error. And then there was a little mistake made. A rock gave way under Megan's feet, and she fell on her left knee. She really hurt herself badly because her patella is visibly fractured. I don't know exactly what she's done, but anyway, I removed a piece of bone. In reality, for some time now, an evacuation for health reasons has been possible. Now we can call a helicopter, which can make it all the way here, because there's no point risking casualties trying to bring them back by a more restrained method, shall we say. So let's not forget, we're at the end of the world, and we can't take any gambles.
It's now 4 weeks that they've been traveling between the mountains and canyons of the Makay. The helicopter pilot informs Evrard that they're only 8 hours' walk from the luxuriant valley.
It's so amazing.
Evrard is relieved to have discovered it just before nightfall. But now they have to know where to make camp. Even though this place resembles an oasis, the Valley of Palms proves to be uninhabitable.
We are in a completely different zone. You have to understand that the entire bottom of the canyon is completely filled with water, so it's not the same vegetation. Here we have thousands of palm trees, pandanus, and other plants who live completely in the water. So it's very different from the forests that we have explored so far, which are fairly dry or semi-dry forests. So we don't have the same species, and therefore probably not the same species of birds. Also, probably not the same behavior from the lemurs, as you have the same species of lemurs here as in other forests, but they don't have the same food at all, so we can guess that they have slightly different behavior, rhythms, etc. We have 3 days ahead of us, 3 short days. That's all before going back. It's the end of the expedition, so we're going to try to give the maximum. Just to tell you also, when I said we're walking on palms, it's either walking on dry palms or walking in the mud and in the water. It's really a swamp, so there are places where it will be raised a little, but often will be in the mud. I've seen there are a few of you who have a problem with infections. I don't know if it's very clever to go in there when you have infections on your feet, legs, or elsewhere, but it's for you to decide. Come on, let's get to work. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, is this the one?
Yes.
Really? Where did you find it? Here?
Yes, just here.
The famous.
Pachypancax.
And how do you classify this as being the Pachypancax? I mean, how can you be certain? We don't know the species, but we do know the type. What are the principal characteristics of the Pachypancax?
In fact, it's his fins. This one is a male.
Is that adult size?
Yes.
Does the fact that the other Pachypancax species are all found in the north of Madagascar mean that a 7th one found here is automatically a new species?
Yes, it does. And then their habitat is totally different to the other species of Pachypancax. We're going to take some specimens and a piece of his pectoral or caudal tissue to do a genetic analysis.
Nothing spectacular, but it's always extraordinary to find a new species, especially at a time when biodiversity is under pressure. These places are so isolated, and without being able to interact with the rest of the world, all the species trapped here have mutated from their origins, therefore making them unique.
Right. I've seen better anchoring, but hey. Shall we start to pull?
Okay, you can go for it. It's fine.
For ornithologists, given the noise in this canyon, it must be teeming with life, and we thought it could be interesting to put a rope. You could call it a zip line between the two hillsides of the canyon. So they can position themselves in the morning, probably very early tomorrow morning, in the middle of the canyon to observe, record, and try and locate the birds that they haven't seen yet. Let's go. I just have to... Oh no, it's slack. That was good. I really got to see it close up. Some places affect you more than others. It's to do with how you've crossed it. That's to say, you've experienced it differently because you're suspended on a rope, because you're on a boat. Whatever the activity, the fact that you're not just on foot, but you've been at a different height, with a different point of view. That really gives a different experience and flavor to the discovery of the site. And after that, we heard that in the lake there were big fish, very big fish. Let's say big like this. Yesterday they said they were that big. Apparently there are even bigger fish, which are yellow, and others which are blue. So we tried, well, I tried to find a route to reach the lake with a small boat, a little pack raft, to attempt to fish on the lake. So, if possible, we could catch them. But this time it didn't work. The fish stayed very well hidden. We need to come back. If we want to succeed with protection, it's not by doing just one expedition. It's not by bringing 50 scientists in one go. It's everything behind that. Being present all year long, discussions with the villagers, with the chiefs of the villages, and that's a very long job. That takes several years or even several decades.
This was up there yesterday.
The mountains.
Yes, the mountains.
In any case, what is certain is that we need to have precise scientific elements to be able to say that such and such a species is here, and this species must be protected. The term often used is umbrella species. That's to say that we're studying species which are only present here.
Greenland. A vast territory 80% covered by a glacial ice cap and the second largest freshwater reserve in the world. Here the effects of global warming are taking their toll as the ice is melting faster and faster with each passing day. My name is Evrard Wendenbaum. I've been leading expeditions in extreme environments for 20 years. Like many people, I'm concerned about the state of our planet. So I decided to lead a scientific mission in this region, which is particularly isolated and crisscrossed with gigantic glaciers. Together with a team of adventurers and researchers, our aim is to study the shifting and disintegration of glaciers. We want to understand why everything is happening faster here in the Greenland ice cap. In short, listen to what the ice has to say. We've just arrived here, on the east coast of Greenland, the far end of Scoresby-Sund, one of the largest fjord systems in the world. The last Inuit village, Intok-Ko-Tuamit, is 10 hours from here by speedboat. We're going to cross the Greenland Peninsula, 100 kilometers of never-explored Great Lakes, tundra, rivers, and glaciers. We're off for 50 days of expedition. Before our Inuit guide returns to his village, we take advantage of his small boat in good weather conditions to find a nearby iceberg where we can test our equipment. We need to find one that's large and flat enough to climb up on. It shifted. That was a big one. Our plan is to study the inner mechanics of icebergs using new scientific procedures, which require getting up to these huge ice structures. We can see the striae. When you look at the sides of the iceberg in front of us, you can see a couple of striae that are on an incline, which show it's already broken and has started to tip, probably several times. There's always a risk. It could break it too in any moment. We never really know. Wow, it's really beautiful. It's not easy to find a glacier stable enough for us to climb on and study for hours at a time. This should be good.
I know you like to carry things, but come on. I'll give you a little slack.
Try to keep it out of the water if possible. Where are the ice pigs? Oh, boy.
Well then. Is this a good idea?
Too dangerous, or what do you think?
What cool?
Really, no matter the iceberg, there's always a chance it cracks.
I think so too.
Trouble is, there's no such thing as a stable iceberg. They crack without warning. They flip. It's like Russian roulette. But they're so massive and beautiful that you just want to climb them. It's been my dream since I was a kid. Wow, it's beautiful. The countdown begins. We know we can't stay too long on such unpredictable ground. I'm quickly joined by the scientists.
Not a bad office view. I'd say we have it pretty good right now. Go, go, go left. A little to the left. Go to the end of the rope. Very good. Keep going. How much is that? Stop!
We have a lot of sensors, so we're making 2 lines in an L shape. There's a sensor there, and we already placed 6 on that line. So every 10 meters, we'll make a hole with a pin to set the geophone. This red sensor.
Everything's ready. We just have to set up. I'm holding a dozen geophones that will record all the mini vibrations of this. Holy cow. Stop.
We're going to log all the iceberg's cracks with these small sensors. With help from Agnes and Evrard, we're placing them on the iceberg. They'll capture all the vibrations up and down the ice. It's constantly vibrating. We hear cracks all the time. It's really cool. We can really tell there's something happening every minute on this iceberg. And we'll be able to record all of that in this box, which has a huge sound card. It's like a sound card with 24 microphones, each connected to a sensor. These microphones allow us to pinpoint the source of the sound, so we know if the cracks are always coming from the same place. Knowing whether the cracks come from here or from there will really help us understand how the glacier works. I'm personally interested in understanding how all that resonates. The sound within the iceberg should resonate like sound in an ice cathedral. When you make noise in a cathedral, there's a powerful, long-lasting echo, and this iceberg should display a similar effect. When it cracks somewhere, that echoes and resonates throughout the entire iceberg. We should be able to record that, which I don't think has ever been done. All set.
What's new is our study of seismic waves caused by the icebergs fracturing. We'll be able to tell if it's the waves, the tides, or the air or water temperatures that are weakening the iceberg and causing it to recede. Our first camp is on the waterfront, not far from the glaciers. The ice flow is retreated here, making this polar bear territory. We'll do everything we can not to disturb them, but they could get curious. Time for a quick lesson for those who aren't familiar with guns.
You see, it's red there, so you can fire.
Oh, God. But why does it automatically do that? It's on, off, on, off.
Now it's on.
Now it's on. If a huge bear suddenly appears, I'll just panic. Do you really think I'm going to worry about my aiming and my position?
Bears just don't run at you from 300 meters away. They approach slowly. They stop, sniff, then they move again, you know?
Can't we just yell or run away?
No. Don't run.
Can't we do something else before shooting?
Lots of things. Shooting's a last resort.
Okay, like what?
First, try the flare.
Try the flare, okay.
Then you try shooting. But shoot next to the bear, not at it.
Oh, I'd miss him anyway.
Good. Even better then.
Which eye
Hold
do I
on.
close again? The left or the right?
Like that, but don't stretch your arms. Tighten up.
Okay, like this. Bye. Oh. Oh, gosh.
I think the bear will die of laughter.
We had been dreaming of the day we could explore this corner of the Arctic and carry out our science projects. But we had to wait for the ice flow to leave the fjord. Now we have just under 2 months to get the job done. And it hit us hard right at the start. The countryside, the noises, the animals, the skies, the lights, it's all powerful here. Before climbing the glaciers, I want to see some of the tundra's wild fauna. The natural tundra here in Greenland covers a land the size of Germany. See there? That's one right there. Fabulous creatures live here, and it's not always easy to study them. It would be cool if he came this way. Look at that one with a broken horn. He's gorgeous. It's crazy how resistant these animals are. They go everywhere. They climb super steep ridges. Climb the giant Apus Inikaji Glacier, an attempt to get to this very undetailed part of the map. But before implicating the entire team, I'm going out on my own to scout for crevices. Okay, so I'll map the itinerary through the middle of this glacier and its crevices. It's a maze of constant danger in there. But I have no choice. All glaciers are like this. I have to admit, these types of obstacles are what keep the adventure exciting. If it was too easy, it would be boring. But I'm not sure everyone on the team feels the way I do, especially when carrying heavy loads. We packed for 10 days of hiking with scientific gear, food, ropes, crampons, our shelter. Some have over 40 kilos on their backs. Since I want everyone to come, that means carrying a lot of weight, which takes considerable effort. No one really likes to do it, but I know some people will carry a bit more to help those who will end up carrying a little bit less. But I think it's a great learning opportunity. You learn that if you want to be more generous and help someone, you can do more than just give them things. And you can give your strength and your energy. But I know it's not an easy choice to make, because you can never really please everyone. You see the moraine deposits and the big pile of rocks over there? It's not stable at all. And when you're carrying a big bag like today, it's really dangerous. You can get hurt really quickly. Some people are okay with that and others are not. So segments like this one, which is tiny compared to the distances we've covered, actually take a lot of time. We left around 1 p.m. and it's now 10:30 p.m., so we've been on the move for 9.5 hours. A helicopter from Itakko Tormit could have dropped us here in an hour. But the thing is, we wanted to be ethical about this whole expedition, so we decided to go by foot. That's great, Gael. Well done. Nice. But we're also here to experience something for ourselves, to experience it in our own way. And our way is the way of nature, so we're not going to just lumber in here like fools. We're making an effort to be as frugal as possible and to be in harmony with our environment. That harmony is best embodied by Aurélie, our illustrator. She follows us every day and then disappears as stealthily as an Arctic fox, to sit somewhere and draw for hours. When she reappears, you can feel the serenity radiating from her, and it encompasses everything. Now we're here in the heart of the Greenland Mountains. We're looking for a small hill that we hope will give us some geological clues about the region's past. For the second time, I'll scout the terrain ahead of the group, as the hill we seek lies in the middle of a frozen lake that's 10 kilometers wide and full of icebergs. They're packed tight against one another. I hope to find a passage through the clusters a bit further ahead. The bad news is there's no open water, only ice. So I can't go very far. This is all ice. I can't get through. And I risk puncturing my boat if I insist. Move on, move on. I'm so happy to see this. That was quite tricky. We've entered a lost world, a place where no one has ever set foot before. Now that I know we can get through, I'm back with Eric LaRose, our seismologist. The discovery of this lake, sandwiched between two glaciers, makes us wonder. That's strange. We can't see any outlet. There's no river or stream, but yet the water has to go somewhere. But where? Under which of the glaciers? It's a mystery. Look, it's muskox fur. They must be not far, because these traces are fresh. They could be just around the corner. We're looking for traces of the past here on this mini island. Thousands of years ago, during the last glaciation, this glacier must have been much thicker than it is now. It was about 1,000 meters taller. I suspect it covered this entire hill, and it carved away the rock over thousands of years. So we're going to analyze the striae, the glacier left behind, to see which way it's flowing. Thousands of years ago, the glacier was flowing in the opposite direction. That means that in the same valley, in two different periods, one glacier was going one way and another glacier was going the other way. That's a pretty incredible discovery. Now we're walking on the last vestiges of a glacier, which changed directions many times based on climatic conditions. Who knows what this place will look like if the temperature rises a few more degrees? We made it to Edward Bailey, one of the biggest glaciers on the Scoresby Sound. One of our primary goals is to study the connection between the meltwater and the speed at which a glacier moves. We're looking for a way in. The best way is to follow the rivers. My goodness, this is like
Waterworld?
Waterworld, the Eskimo version. All right, here we go. This is sick. Yes! Wow, incredible. Oh, be careful. Other side, other side. There.
You okay?
Yeah.
I'm coming. Wait. Shit.
After the collision, I managed to get free. But Eric's pack raft is full of water and he can't move. We have to empty it.
Try to lift it!
I can't, it's too heavy.
The increasingly strong current complicates the situation. But he gets help and manages to get moving again. This is crazy. We're at the end of the world, on an enormous glacial river. It's clearly the biggest glacial river I've ever seen. And somehow the meanders are just the right size for us to go downstream. The river runs like a giant snake carved into the glacier's surface. It's over 60 kilometers long. There are actually thousands of meltwater streams that flow from the glacier, slowly draining it of its waters. All this water must find its way to a crevice at some point or another, where it surges in, carving out a vertical shaft. They're called glacier mills. They're mysterious and dangerous, and we've come to study them. You let the sound guide you, and as you get closer, you feel it, and suddenly, it's right there in front of you. It's spectacular. It attracts you, but at the same time, it's also dangerous. I find it very exciting. You just want to get closer and closer. I'm happy I got out of the boat before arriving here. It's a little nerve-shattering. The force of the water is incredible. Anything floating in it flows into that hole and comes out 12 kilometers away, at the end of the glacier. What's funny is, here the water is very clean. It's totally clear. While in the valley below, at the end of the glacier, it's a river of mud. Most glaciers aren't actually on a bed of rock. Rather, they sit on top of sediment. So once the water reaches the glacier's base, it becomes totally brown. That's where we need to go, but not today.
Want chives with that?
Yes, I got them out. Oh my God, I pity the vegetarians. They only have white rice.
This is making me hungry. Totally.
Oh, crap.
I know. That one's for you.
You're eating that one. Don't waste anything. Think of the others.
No one has water?
Just put it back in. Excellent. Cheese, sausage, rice.
This is the best meal I've ever had.
Ours was a little crunchier.
Wait, where is it? There? After scouting this site with a small team, I reassure the scientists. Countless glacial mills punctuate the glacier, and one of them looks perfect for our study. We saw a great one near here. It was perfect. I think this one will be the easiest to access. It's really beautiful, like stunning.
So we can go down, but we won't go too deep. So we won't need lights?
No, it's very blue, very bright and big.
Is it full of water down there?
There's a lake.
Okay, got it. This should be cool.
Our plan is to slip down inside the glacier and set up our instruments. We have to take lots of things into account. The entry, the flow, the depth, the width. We're sure to discover endless twists and turns that result from the glacier's movement. Because while they seem very stable, some glaciers advance several meters a day.
This glacier mill is particularly interesting because water flows here all day, so we can measure the amount of runoff. Additionally, it's big enough for us to get inside, so we'll be able to go to the bottom and see what's really happening in the heart of the glacier. Descending a glacial mill is a delicate mix of spelunking and ice climbing. As long as the ropes are attached to safe and solid anchor points in the ice, there's no risk during the descent. But if a single one of the rope's anchor points is weak, the risk is huge. You can't afford to fall into a glacial mill. The water would quickly suck you beneath the ice, and there's absolutely no chance you'd come out alive. I'm precisely measuring the water levels with this tool, which also measures the temperature at a few different depths. That will allow us to take a good reading of this glacier. Some glaciers read at 0 degrees and others are below 0. What's unique about the glaciers of Greenland is that they manage to stay very cold even though they're at low altitudes. It's interesting to see these glaciers here, as they're like what you'd normally find in the Alps at high altitudes of 4,000 meters. So they're special and they break very easily. We're studying all that.
So what we're doing right now is digging a small recess where we'll place the seismic sensor. Is that it?
Exactly. And thanks to this mill, we'll be able to record the deepest of the glacier's vibrations. This is really a first. So we're going to place the sensor here in this recess. The sensor acts like a microphone, but instead of recording sound in the air, it records echoes in the ice. It will measure the vertical vibrations of the ice, everything that vibrates along this line. Our job after the fact will be to analyze those recordings in the lab, to translate those vibrations, those whispers and echoes, into a representation of the glacier's inner mechanisms. The ice changes shape, it cracks, and this important week of research will give us enough to work on for at least a year.
This is an incredible journey to the center of the ice. But we're not stopping at the water's surface. In fact, we're going to take it to even further extremes. We want to know what's underneath the ice and where the water comes out. Wow, it's noisy. I'm soaked, but it's okay. Be careful, though. I heard a cracking. There were a couple of moments when I felt it went and everything started shaking, even the ice anchor. So I was like, oh crap, what's happening? It's scary. When you get in the water, you'd better be prepared for the loud sound of those cracks and be ready. But it's going to be beautiful. That's great, Laurent. Sit deep down into your harness. I asked Laurent Marie, a really good diver, to join our mission and attempt to explore underwater. No one has ever dared to do such a thing. Brace yourself directly to the cabinier. Let that thing go. Of course, he'll be attached to a rope underwater to make sure he doesn't get swept away.
At the bottom, the water was very cold. My depth gauge read the temperature at 1 degree Celsius. There was a drop-off that went down between 5 and 6 meters, so not too deep. And at the bottom, there was black sand. It was black sand that sparkled and swirled up from the waterfall. And all these sparkles floated around me like it was raining stars. And at that depth, it was calm. You couldn't hear the noise as loudly. Down at the bottom, it felt like I was floating in the stars, in the sparkles. It was totally crazy. Totally crazy. It's incredible. Amazing. It's amazing. There was no particular danger on the water's surface. However, at the bottom, where it got really difficult, was at the edge of this chasm. As I got closer to the bottom, it dropped off and I could feel the current pulling me towards the chasm. So I had to be really careful not to get caught in that, because we didn't even know where it came out. I was in another world, another universe, a universe of poetry and magic. It was a dream come true for me. It was something I never thought I'd be able to do, to free dive in a glacial mill.
That's good.
What an adventure.
What an experience. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
That one worked.
Well, what do you think? Maybe?
Oh, yeah, not bad.
Maybe, maybe not.
I can't see anything. What are they doing?
They're playing.
Cool.
What about here?
We were testing the depth by throwing a rock.
After exploring the glacial mill, we're now going to better understand the water's course within one glacier. To do so, Eric and Agnes head towards the outlet of the Edward Bailey Glacier.
Great. Incredible. Beautiful. The river seems to pass beneath us, which is incredibly lucky, because we can follow it quite a long way without being in the water. That's really great. We start seeing beautiful blue color there. It's awesome. Can you get in here? It's magical. It's magical. Unreal. We're inside the glacier. We're underneath it. We need to be careful. There's a bit of a dip there. We have to make sure it's not a hole and that it's safe. It's still going. Holy crap, it's huge. Way! There's another cave over here. This never gets old. Incredible. Look at that ice tongue there. See it? It was totally deformed from the pressure and then it froze over again. Yeah, great. I'll shine some light for you. This is under-ice spelunking. What we're doing right now isn't very common. Hey. I'm like a stuntman. What we're seeing is incredible. It's an ice palace. I've never seen such large ice crystals in my life. They're in all shapes, hexagons, cones, and those are drops. They're bigger than my thumb. They're all here. I've never seen anything like this. It's very cold inside the glacier. It must be -4, -5 degrees Celsius in this cave. The air's coming from the underground river. This air is very humid. The humidity will slowly coat the ice and then recondense for weeks and weeks. And the crystals will slowly grow, very slowly. And after a few months, you get giant crystals like these. They're giant crystals in a giant glacier. It's crazy. This alone makes the trip worth it. The ambience here is incredible. An underground river in the ice. There's a small underground river that began at the surface crevasse where the water fell through. And while it flows, it melts the glacier from the inside. And that's how this cave was formed, little by little, over the course of many years, or maybe in one season. And when summer is over and it starts getting cold again, the water stops flowing on the glacier's surface. So the water level drops in here and you can go deeper inside. It's a fun ride. We're going to tie the boats up to be sure they don't float away in case the water level rises. It's like beautifully sculpted marble. The ice is so pure. It's extraordinary. It's ascending a bit. There's an exit over here. I can see light. I see light. We're out. Incredible. We're at the entrance to the tunnel that leads to the ice cave, and we can see light now. We've reached the scree, the end of it.
Their adventure to the center of the glacier went better than expected. But Agnès and Eric must remain alert. A glacier is a monster in constant movement. After 3 hours of exploring, they must be cautious and exit the cave. The change in decor is almost surreal. After emerging from the ice, they're on an immense sandy beach, and Eric and Agnès are struck by an intuition and ask me if we can stay to study this atypical terrain.
We thought we were crossing a sort of beach, a sandy zone at the base of the valley, and the crossing it would take half a day. But we ended up staying more than 3 days because beneath the layer of sand, which is blocked by a glacier downstream and a glacier upstream, it's a completely flat area. We quickly discovered traces of ice. By walking like this, we can probe beneath the ground of the entire valley. It means we don't need to dig a hole that would have needed to be 100 meters deep and 2 kilometers wide. It's magical. When we only have a few readings over just a few meters, we can't make anything of it. But after about 200 meters, shapes start appearing on the screen. And what I'm seeing, about 20 meters below, is a geological interface that's very strong, very clear. There are hills beneath the sand that are more than 10 meters high. We think it's ice, which is really good news for our experiment. 15 meters? So there's the sand, and that's the ice. This beach is not a beach, it's actually a glacier. There's a significant amount of ice that's trapped in the valley and no longer moving, because it's isolated by the sand. This glacier could be very old. It's a fossilized glacier. We don't know if it's been fossilized for a couple of 100 years, a couple of 1,000 years, or even tens of thousands of years, which would be truly exceptional. But one thing's for sure, we put this fossilized glacier on the map. We had to take the time to do this expedition by foot and take the time to stop at this place in order to discover this wonder.
We would have loved to stay longer. It was so beautiful. But we're running low on food, so we must head back to the fjord. We have to carry everything back to where it all began. Yes, tie it there. Pull a bit more. The problem is that the rivers are swollen. We can't cross carrying the bags. Falling in the water with your pack on and getting everything soaking wet is just unthinkable. It's barely 5 degrees Celsius outside. You'd never warm back up. This one's really heavy.
Yeah.
The zip line can only support the bag's weight, so we have to face the chilly water with as few clothes on as possible.
Thanks.
In the heart of our adventure in the Scoresby Sun, we alternated between exploration, carrying weight, and taking scientific readings. These readings will allow us to better understand the connection between climate change temperatures and the accelerating melting of the glaciers. This phenomenon doesn't only contribute to rising ocean levels, which we all know. It also contributes to the cooling of North Atlantic waters, which could eventually interrupt the Gulf Stream. Without these significant warm water currents, Europe is at risk of completely losing its mild climate.